All right, good evening, everybody. Today we're going to look at section 10.5. So we're looking at angle relationships that are formed by tangents, secants, and chords inside the circle. So make sure you jot down these theorems, and those of you who do not like to draw, these are very important, so please make sure you draw the pictures as well as writing down the theorems. So the first one up is theorem 1014, where a tangent and a chord are intersecting. So if we want to look at angle 2, so you see if I trace that, you're tracing part of the tangent and the chord. So when I go to find angle 2, if I look at that dotted arc, I'm just going to take half of that measure to get angle 2. So if I want to write an equation, it's the measure of angle 2 is equal to 1/2 of the measure of arc ACB. Okay, and then the same thing goes for angle 1. You would know angle 1 by taking 1/2 of the measure of the minor arc AB. Okay, so draw that picture and make sure you write down that equation, or those two equations. And then, let me clear the ink here. And then we need to look at these two examples. So I'll do the first example in class one, put that in quotes because you're not in class right now. Then you'll do the other one on your own. We'll check it when you get to class tomorrow. So if I need to find angle Y and angle X, just go ahead and start tracing like we've done for those inscribed angles. Trace this, and if that degree, if I don't trace over that, if that degree is 60, you know that its arc is going to be double, so that's going to be 120. Okay, now that doesn't necessarily help us find Y, but it should show you what X is. So if I trace X here in green, you should be able to see that its arc is the same as that 60 degree. So then if that arc right here that I dotted in blue, if that's 120, you're going to cut that in half in order to get what X is. So X should be 60 degrees. Okay, so there's X, and then let's get what Y is. Well, you have to make sure we got a lot of colors going on here. I'll trace this in red here. So this is the arc I'm looking at. Well, right now we don't have a number for that, but I can take 140 and add 120, and that'll give me 260. So the remaining from 360 is 100. So that arc is 100, which means Y is going to be equal to half of that. So Y is equal to 50 degrees. Okay, so it's very similar to your inscribed angles in that you're just taking half of the arc, but now it's just formed by a tangent and a chord. So hopefully that makes sense, and you can try this one on your own. So we'll check that when we get to class tomorrow. Okay, so let's look at the next theorem, theorem 1015. So we're looking at two chords intersecting inside a circle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find the measure of each of those angles. And as long as you understand vertical angles, you're pretty much good to go here. So if I trace angle 1, its vertical angle would be this guy. And what I'm looking at is I'm going to look at their corresponding arcs. So it says if two chords intersect in the interior of a circle, then the measure of each angle is half the sum of the measures of the arcs that are intercepted by the angles, basically. So if I get the measure of angle 1, that's equal to the measure of arc EF, and since it's the sum, I'm going to add the measure of arc DC. I think that, oh, no, that's a G. There we go. Okay, so all I have to do is take those two corresponding arcs, add them up, and then I'm taking half of it, so I'm cutting that by 2. Okay, and then the same thing goes for angle 2. So that's equal to the measure of arc DE plus the measure of arc GF, and I've got to cut that in half. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And let's look at an example here. If it'll go to the next slide for me. Gotta delete that. Okay. This. Okay. So here's the example I'll do, and then you'll do the second one again. So if I want to find angle x, all I'm going to do is take its arc here, which is 30, and then go to its vertical. So all of this is in green. So I'm taking 40, adding that up, and then I've got to cut it in half. So 30 plus 40, we should know, is 70, and then half of 70 is just 35. Okay, so x is equal to 35 degrees. Okay, so go ahead and try the next one on your own and see what you get for that, and we'll check that when we get to class again tomorrow. All right, then one of the last theorems here, we have 3 different pictures going on here because we have 2 different lines that are going to intersect in a couple different places. So we have a secant and a tangent for this first example. We have 2 secants for the second, and then, or 2 tangents for the second, and then 2 secants for the third. Okay, either way, no matter what picture you have, all that you're doing is you're taking one arc, subtracting the other arc, and dividing by 2. Now, we don't want any negative numbers, so take the bigger minus the smaller and cut it in half. And that's what this angle C will equal. So in this first picture, the measure of angle C is going to be equal to the measure of arc ADE, and I'm going to subtract the measure of arc AB, and I'm going to divide by 2. Okay? And then the equations are very similar to the other 2 examples. You just have to pay attention to the arcs. So in the 2 tangent example, you're going to take arc ADB, which is in blue, and subtract arc AB, which is in green, and cut that in half, and that's angle C. And then this last one with 2 secants, you're going to take arc DE and subtract arc AB, cut it in half, and that's angle C. Jot those 3 pictures down, make sure you understand the equations, and then we'll try this example. All right, so if I have this first one where I have 2 secants because I'm hitting the circle in 2 different spots, all I'm going to do to find x is take 120 minus 40, and I'm going to divide that by 2. So take 120 minus 40, which is 80, and then cut that in half, and you get x to be 40 degrees. Okay, so these problems, just make sure you remember the entire circle is 360 degrees, and that should help if you don't have 2 different arcs, okay, that are labeled. So try the second one on your own, and then we have this last one. All right, so let's look at A together, and then you'll do B on your own. Okay, you have 2 secants, or 2 tangents in A that are intersecting. So if I want to find angle X, I need to understand that this central angle, angle ACB, is 135. Okay, I'm going to use that for one thing, and hopefully you remember that a central angle and its corresponding arc are the same. So technically this arc AB, that's 135 degrees as well. So in order to get what I'm subtracting that from, I have to do a little work. So I have to first take 360 degrees and subtract 135. Okay, so that's what that arc will be. So 360 minus 135, you should get 250 degrees. So now to get x, I'm going to take 225 minus this arc AB. Okay, understand that you're not taking the central angle, you're taking the arc technically. And you're going to subtract that from 225, and then you're going to cut it in half. So 225 minus 135 is 90. So then x is equal to 90 divided by 2, which is 45 degrees. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And then go ahead and solve B on your own. Try to get that angle x. Now you have the angle. So you have what we just found. You have the x. And now you have to find what this angle is. So do a little thinking with this. See if you can come up with a strategy to get what x is. And we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Make sure you pause this and go back a couple different times to make sure you have the full understanding of all this, and come with any questions you have tomorrow. See you.